Hey, how's it going? In this video, I want to talk about the effect of watching too many movies in succession. Now, this could be a commentary on a whole bunch of things. Is it worth movie marathoning a bunch of movies? Does it affect you too much if you watch 7 movies in a day? Kind of. Sometimes I've done it before. It's a thing. Sometimes you can just forget how many movies you've watched. I had a whole year where I watched 510 movies, and that's still not even a lot compared to some people I follow. Holy shit, some people I follow watch 1,000 movies in a year, and I'm just like, how? But they get paid to watch movies, so that's a different kind of story. No, in this case, I want to kind of talk about the impact of that a movie can have when you watch it, especially the first time around, and if that is kind of squandered by your immediate impulse to just watch another movie. Because in my line of life, I will get home from work or I'll have a day off and it'll be like time to watch movies. And if it's like my usual bread and butter is I get home Monday to Thursday, put on a movie, enjoy it, then I either put on another movie or I go on my laptop, do some YouTube stuff, work on videos like this, whatever, and then watch another movie, or I just triple feature, whatever it be. Maybe watch some TV shows in between if I want to have some spice in my life. But Fridays, for example, I'll watch 5 films in a day, sometimes 6. The past couple Fridays, because I work permanent part-time, so I get Fridays off. But I was very busy at the start of the year with work, with new employees and whatever, new colleagues, so I was working every Friday, but then suddenly, bam, Friday's off. And suddenly I'm watching, bam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films in a day, not going out, not socializing, maybe not even showering, maybe, but the idea being is that I have from when I wake up till about 5 o'clock, when at least Dad gets home at the earliest, and because he's the one who will come home and like put on music and it'll be like, it's time for the weekend, I can make as much noise as I want. Julian doesn't need to have atmosphere and to be able to enjoy his movies. I have noise cancelling headphones, which really fucking helps now. But at the same time, like, I want to be able to just sit here and enjoy movies and hope that the dogs don't go barking at whatever neighbors are outside. And so on those days, I could watch films that are absolute masterpieces, 5-star movies, like emotionally harrowing films, or dreadfully horrifying movies, or just the funniest shit you've ever seen. And then 10 minutes after it's done, I've logged my review on Letterboxd, whether it be a fun little quip because I'm an idiot, or I actually want to put in some heart and thought and like, I'm going to write some real shit that no one's going to give a shit to read unless I like some of their reviews. That kind of trade-off element. But then I'll immediately jump onto the next film. And I kind of want to... What's a good comparison for this? I want to see if there's any Fridays of recent that I've had. The main reason I bring this stuff up is because I see a lot of the time on Twitter where people will bring up a film that they're like, man, I just had this film stuck in my head for days. I couldn't get it out of my head. And that's insane to me, that you just can't get a film out of your head in a way. Like, it makes sense, obviously. A film can have a lot of impact and you could just be thinking about it for days, even if you've watched a bunch of other films. But for me, it's like, every film for me is like a time and a place. Like, you have a film, the only time I'm going to think about the film again is either A, I'm talking about the film either in a video, or like, hey, this is what I watched this month, let me give you 2 seconds of my time to talk about it, or I'm talking to colleagues, or I'm talking to friends. Like the day after work, the next day at work, I'll have like maybe watched the film the night before and I'll talk to my colleague about it, because they don't have anything interesting happen in their life, and all I do is watch movies. So what am I going to talk about? The goddamn movies I'm watching, even if it's the really fucking weird shit. I'll be like, man, I watched this really fucking weird movie last night. It's really insane. But I do that. Like, I could even spend a day watching 3 movies. I watched, on one Sunday, The Gold Rush, the classic 1925 Charlie Chaplin film. Introduced it to my girlfriend. She'd never seen a Chaplin before. It was great. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved it. And I'd seen it before, but I wanted to show her. But then we followed it by going to the cinemas and watching Challengers, which was my favorite film of 2024 so far. I just was astounded by it, absolutely floored by the movie. Like, gave it 5 stars. I'm like, this is the best thing I've seen all year. And it was already on a pretty strong streak. I'd already had like the first Omen. I'm like, it's been a pretty up there year. Dune Part 2. What's the movie with the gay lesbians that go on a road trip? That one, I really like that one. Drive Away Dolls. Like, there have been some fun movies, but then challenges, I'm like, oh, this is the good shit. And then we get home, and I chuck on a new movie that my friend has sent me a copy of because, of course, it wasn't available in Australia. We watched Hundreds of Beavers, and we're just fucking cacking ourselves. And, like, it was kind of the perfect time to watch it because we'd just seen the Chaplin film earlier, so it gives you some, like, context as to what the film is highly inspired by. Both Chaplin, silent films, a lot of those kind of, like, silent film comedies. And that's exactly what Hundreds of Beavers was. So we were perfectly in the mood for it, despite having challenges to bridge the gap. And, like, come on, that was, again, for me, a 4.5-star film. Like that was... Actually, no, I gave that film 5 stars as well. Holy shit. 2 films, 5 stars in one day. And it's like, the impact of that was that the next day I had to try and make my colleagues believe I wasn't talking about porn. Ironically, the Challenges one is more pornographic than Hundreds of Beavers. Like, literally. But, yeah. So, there's been a lot of days like that. There was one day, it's another Sunday, where I watched 4 movies in a row, but they were all rewatches except for Modern Times, so it doesn't really matter. Yes. On the 12th of April, for example, these were the 5 films I watched in this one day. The Evil Dead, the original, which was a rewatch, but I hadn't seen it in like 5 years. 28 Days Later, a rewatch, hadn't seen it in 5 years. Female Prisoner 701 Scorpion, had never seen it before, loved it, gave it 5 stars. Oh my god, Japanese cinema. And then to kind of just be more critical of the movie, because by this stage in the day, everyone had come home. So, like, I was like, well, I'm going to put on something that I don't care to watch, that I don't care what the background noise is, So I watched The Omen from 2006. I don't know if I'm going to add posters here, but I probably should. And it was bad. Like, awful movie. That kind of crap. But then I followed that up because I was still tired, but I was like, I got time. So I watched At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, which is a, 1960s Brazilian horror film. Portuguese, black and white, 4x3, crazy. And the thing is, it's like, which of those do I have the takeaway from? Like, by the next day, or like in a couple of days' time when I get back to work, who do I talk to about any of these movies? Oh, on Friday I watched like a really great Japanese exploitation film about a prisoner. I don't know. It's like it's a weird kind of dynamic of where I will see people talking on Twitter about how they watched this one film, and I was just showing that I got Cure, which is a part of the Criterion Collection, and that was a film that a lot of people, when they first watched it, they were just like, oh, mind-blowing, amazing film. And I agree, it's a fucking masterpiece of a movie, but then cut to, like, a week later, they're still talking about it. They're still, like, on this high, like, man, this film was so good. And I'm just, like, I watched that 25 films ago. Like, a bit of an exaggeration, but within a week, yeah, I can watch that many films. So it's that kind of thing where it's like, it's been a week now since I've watched Hundreds of Beavers and even Challenges, and those are 2 absolute masterpieces for me. And I'm like, has it changed my life to go from there to where I am now? And honestly, not really. I don't have that, like, need. Like, my benefit is Hundreds of Beavers people have been talking about on Twitter for a while, and it was like, I really want to watch it. So I finally watched it. I was really happy. But Challenges hadn't come out in the US. So now everyone's talking about that on Twitter because they finally are able to watch it. And I'm like, yay, everyone likes it. I don't care. But good for them. You're like, I don't have the impulse to, like, add my discussion. I don't make tweets or shit. Like, I'm not a person. But it's that kind of thing of, like, I will just move on to the next movie. Here's a masterpiece, absolute triumph of cinema, and say like you go from 2001 A Space Odyssey, triumph of cinema, perfect picture, oh my god, and then I watch fucking, I was gonna say Evil Dead 2, but like that's also a masterpiece of my own. What's a goofy one? I don't know, Godzilla vs. Megalon, you know, something really crap but also fun, you know. It's not really crap, but it's like, it ain't the best of the Godzilla films, at least in my mind. So, I don't know, it's just that mindset that I don't always know if it's weird or not. That I can't kind of make a decision as to, is it a bad thing that I watch too many movies? Because, I mean, that's kind of the roundup, isn't it? Because if you look at a regular Joe, like one of my colleagues, for example, one of my mates, he likes playing video games instead. He plays a lot of video games. He likes playing space ones, the ones where you, like, build spaceships and fly around with your mates. That's his jam, you know? And then occasionally he'll watch a movie or a TV show. Like he was watching Fallout, so we've been talking about Fallout because I was watching it as well, and we were both enjoying it. You know, he got a bit behind because I was watching it with my brother, but I was watching it with my brother. That's selective. That's like only when him and his girlfriend are both over at the exact same time are we going to watch Fallout. And we still got the show done in a week. He's the kind of guy who, like, he won't watch movies that often. And when he does, it's like, it's not like high art or anything. He ain't going around watching some kind of French cinema. Actually, he has been watching a lot of Japanese films. Like, he likes samurai films because of that Shogun series. So it's like, you know, he's open-minded to that degree, but, like, he's not, like, going out of his way to watch these, like, 100% all the time. He's the kind of, I'll go home and maybe chuck on an Adam Sandler film because it's on Netflix. Like, you know, just something that's easygoing, fun, maybe nostalgic for him because it's over 20 years old, stuff that I haven't seen, more or less, because, like, if he's like, oh, have you seen Happy Madison? I love the scene where this happens. I'm like, I don't know, man, I haven't seen it. And he's like, what are you doing? Have you not? And he's like listening to these Adam Sandler films. I'm like, bro, I'm sorry. I never had that childhood. I didn't have those days where it's like, yeah, the SNL films, I'm going to watch the 90s ones. Like, it was never a thing for me. So I had a couple that I'd watched, like 50 First Dates and shit like that. But, like, it's that thing of, like he will be watching a film and then, like, that'll be, like, the thing. That's all he has. But he's not thinking about that for a week. That's just, he doesn't care that much for movies. He'll watch one every once in a while, and that was it, you know? Another colleague of mine, who, the reason I mention colleagues in particular is because they're just everyday Joes to me. Like, they're the kind of people who, they do the 9 to 5, they go home, they cook dinner, they feed their pets, they talk with their potential spouses or whoever their partners are, or if they're just home alone, just with their pets. And then they just play video games or they watch telly. You know, regular people. My regular life is get home, watch movies, have dinner, watch movies, do YouTube, watch movies. I watch so many goddamn movies that if I was to put it if I'm to put it lightly, how many have I watched so far this year? I don't think this includes documentaries, but this includes 2 rewatches. I've watched 193 films. I think that includes at least 1 documentary. Actually, maybe even not. No, because I've watched 2, they're like making of documentaries, like one for Temple of Doom, one for the Omen films, and these are like featuring like 50 to an hour and 40. And 1 short film of Papageno from 1935 because it was on the Criterion Channel. And then again, 2 rewatches. So I've watched 195 feature-length films, technically 197 because of the 2 documentaries. You know, like 193 films. As I'm recording, it is the 28th of April. It's April. It's not even May yet. We're not even 5 months into the year and I've almost watched 200 movies. Is that not kind of crazy? Like I could forget that I've watched a movie, and until someone brings it up, or maybe it just pops into my mind, I'll be like, hey, I watched this film. Really crazy. Like, I'll catch up with a friend, and we'll just discuss films, and I'll just go through my letterbox and be like, oh, I watched this one. What have you thought? You know, discussing their thoughts on the film, whether they've seen it or not. If they haven't seen it, I'll try to, like, persuade them to watch it. Be like, oh, it's got these fun elements of this and that, you know? I mean, I also have film friends, so of course we're going to have discourse about stuff. But the longest duration of just ifs and maybes and what happens after a film is if it's the last film of the night that I watch, or I'm in the middle of a social activity. Like, I go out with a friend to watch a movie, and then we'll talk about the movie afterwards. But most of the time, we just talk about the movie for 10, 20 minutes, and then we just go home. At the Astor, if I'm at the Cinemaniacs, then, because that's a whole thing, you go there, there's a hour-long presentation talking about the movie, a whole pre-show thing. I've got friends there, that I'm friends with the people who organize the thing. We watch the movie, and then we chat about the movie afterwards with drinks. I don't drink alcohol because I'm driving, but socializing. You can talk about the movie, or you can also talk about anything else you want. It's so fun. But it's just that thing of that's as much impact as that movie will probably have on me at the time. I watched Teen Wolf at the Astor, and I didn't even give a shit to watch it that much. I just wanted to see the people who were there, because I like going to the Cinemaniacs. And it was also, I was with my girlfriend, and we were like, hey, you haven't seen this film, we can meet up when I'm finished work and go watch Teen Wolf. And she enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. I don't think it's an amazing film, but then we chatted with the people after the movie for about 20 odd minutes, and then we went home. By the time we got home, we had enough time to watch another movie. I don't know if we did. I think it was pretty late that night. I know I'm doing a lot of backtracking in terms of looking at films I've already watched, but I'm pretty sure no, we didn't. We were going to. It was the next day that we watched the Gold Rush. We were going to watch a film, but it was by the time we got home, it was 10 o'clock, and it was look, I'm tired, I've been up all day, shower, go to bed, why not? But it was that kind of thing. If that would have been the last film I watched that day, it wouldn't have been. If I had just been if I had just had a bit more energy to me, maybe if I had a proper meal for dinner, because I was so desperate for time, that maybe I would have had enough energy to be yeah, let's watch a 120 odd minute long, silent black and white Charlie Chaplin film. So obviously watching it the next day, a much better option. I don't know if this is just because people don't watch as many films as I do. I mean, a lot of people watch a lot of films. I've got a friend who will watch a bunch of TV shows and at least one movie a day and 1 or 2 or 3 different TV show episodes. He's unemployed, but he has time. He's able to manage his own time that way. Whereas for me, it's just put on a movie. I watched 2 movies today. I watched Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, and then was wow, that was a fun 85-minute long comedy film. Now let's watch a 3-hour and 20-minute long action adventure. I watched the extended cut of King Kong. So ain't that a contrast? But I do like to, at least in my mind, I think my benefit is the fact that I have something like Letterboxd, where it's kind of that impulse to keep watching movies and to keep adding them. But also it's because there are so many movies that exist. I obviously have a lot behind me. I've got a couple thousand that I keep adding to, a bunch that I still have not watched. I've got at least 600 here that I haven't watched. At least. That's just 600 scanned barcodes. Some of those are 10 packs. It's fucked. And it's one of those things where it's for me, I don't think it matters that much if a film does have a lot of impact. Because I could be watching it thinking, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Give it the 5 stars or 4.5. Give it its due diligence in terms of star rating and review on Letterboxd. Like a couple other people's reviews that I like their reviews of, whatever. And then just press play, time for the next one. I post on my Instagram stories, and I try to have the opening title crawl of the movie to some degree, just to give you a title of the movie that I'm watching. And that one day that I mentioned where I had 5 different films with Evil Dead and all that stuff, by the time I got to the last film, I even posted a comment on it saying, okay, this is the last one for today. 5 movies. Mental. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this. Do you watch multiple films a day? Are you content enough to watch one film, be oh my god, that was mind blowing, move on to the next film, or is it just kind of consuming content kind of thing? For me, I don't think it's a consuming content thing. I think because also I don't like to think of movies as content, but people like watching stuff on Netflix and whatever, so that kind of has that same kind of drive, realistically. For me, it's more I just want to have a collection of this in my head that I can say, I've watched this film, I've enjoyed that film, I didn't like that film, I've seen it though. To go from the element of saying, I know what that film is, or I have that film on Blu-ray, to I own it and I've seen it. It's a piece of shit, but I have the Blu-ray. That's also a thing. But yeah, I don't know. And also, again, I have the ability to, like with most normal people, rewatch films. You know, this past month I've watched films that I've rewatched that I hadn't watched in 4 to 5 years, and that can be stunning to me. You know, Shaun of the Dead, Night of the within the same 2 day period, it was like Shaun of the Dead and The Evil Dead and the 28 Days Later. All three of those, which I watched in succession, I hadn't watched in 5 years. That's insane to me. That's pre-pandemic. That's how long ago that is. And for me, that's like a decade ago. Obviously, it isn't half as much, but it feels like a long goddamn time ago. Hell, I even watched Beetlejuice yesterday. I thought I hadn't watched that in like a year. I hadn't watched it in 4 years. I watched it twice within a year, like 2019 and 2020, and then I watched it 4 years later. Technically 3.5 years, because it was like September of 2020. But yeah, it's a thing. I don't think it's bad if I don't let a film sit with me. Like, I'm questioning if it's bad that I don't have that thing of, oh wow, that film, that's gonna sit with me for like a week. No, I don't care, I'll move on. I don't have that. I don't have a lot of the time when like the like that whole meme that went around a long while ago, the whole lives rent free in my head. Like I have some things like that, but if it's almost like it'll come to me, but I can't think about it on the spot. Oh, what lives rent free in your head? If I know, the Homer thinking of a goddamn clapping monkey. I don't know, man. Just something entertaining. Sometimes thing will come to my head and I'll be like, oh, it's that goddamn scene from that movie again. Why is that in my head still? It's been 15 years. You know, does a movie need to have that kind of impression on me where a week, 2 weeks, a month, 5 months later, I'll be like, man, I gotta watch that film again. I really like that one scene of a clapping monkey. You know, I don't know. It is what it is. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below if you have any of a comprehension of what the hell I'm talking about in terms of just, do you have any idea what the hell I'm talking about? If not, hey, I'm going crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know. Or at least let me know a film that has, of recent, that you've watched, that you've been like, wow, this was crazy. This was such a good film. Even if it was one that was done, that came out a week ago, or something that came out 100 years ago. I can say that because Buster Keaton's film Sherlock Jr. came out 100 years ago, and that's insane. Good film. Highly recommend it. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.